Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining the Forget Your Pizza Party podcast. My name is Chris.
My name's Misty.
And tonight is episode 13. Tonight, we are going to talk about
nursing reviews.
Nursing reviews. Have you ever had a nursing review?
I've had 13.
Wow.
Plus.
All of them went well? What's your perception of that?
My perception is that they all went well but one.
Oh, I perceive we're going to be talking about something a little bit later.
That is factual.
See, and we have an inside joke because there are catchphrases that some managers or management will use, and one of those is
perceived.
All right. So we'll go step by step for newer nurses or nursing students, and then we'll go all the way through our nursing career. So how did your first nursing review or your unit review or manager review go? Or maybe some key points that people out there may not know about nursing reviews or management reviews, especially with nursing. Hey, everybody, just wanted to take a break from the podcast and say, look, help us grow this podcast. Please hit the like, subscribe, and make a comment. I don't even care what it is. You can say the sky is pink. Just make that comment, hit that notification bell, subscribe to our channel, help us grow, push this out to all your friends and family that work in healthcare. We would really appreciate it. Back to the podcast.
I was really nervous for my first one because you don't know what to expect, and being your first real major job, you don't know what you're going to get. Am I doing good? Am I not doing good?
Did you kill anybody? Did you not kill anybody?
Yeah. Attendance. Are you following policy? Are you meeting goals that they provide for you that fit their model? And then your own personal goals.
What would you say some of the goals that they were looking for? I find setting performance goals in nursing kind of difficult because in my mind, if you have good reviews and the patient got discharged home alive, I'd look at that as a win. So how do they perceive these goals, or how do they manifest these goals for their staff to follow?
So a lot of the goals that I noticed over the years are more focused on how it benefits the organization.
Oh, so you're talking like HCAHPS and Press Ganey.
I mean, if you think about it, were you meeting your Press Ganey scores, your HCAHPS scores? Were you actively participating in making sure the organization is actually meeting those goals? So some of the goals that they would give everybody, like one of them was how you are using their supplies and ways that you can budget better, as an example, to put it in simply. And then there was pain. We had ways to get our pain scores up, and goals, just personal goal, like not personal, but like unit goals that they were trying to get everybody to do. But if anybody who knows what the HCAHPS are, pain, patient satisfaction, all those things are very much going to benefit the organization and their reimbursements.
So how unfair was the pain score? Because from what I gather, it was a 1 to 5. And in order to meet the quality measure, the patient had to answer 5.
That's excellent. That their pain was taken care of.
Always managed.
Yeah. So the problem some of these patients don't understand is that we're there to help control your pain. We are not there to take your pain completely away.
Well, and it's not a fair, reasonable thing for any rational human being.
For chronic pain, I should say.
For chronic pain. Well, no, even acute pain. Honestly, you're never going to get the patient's pain to 0 unless they're dead or they're under anesthesia.
Right.
Because you will always have pain. We're never going to be able to take it to 0. Or you're in such a narked out state that you perceive your pain, but you're still there. A lot of people get knocked out from the narcotics if they're opiate naive, but they still have the pain there. Their pain, it's kind of dead, but it never goes to 0 unless they're dead or they're under general anesthesia. It's just, there's no effective way to treat pain 100%.
Correct.
So yeah, I always thought that measure was bullshit. And here's the other thing: as a floor nurse, a nurse at maybe a long-term care facility or a skilled nursing facility, you may not be judged on the Press Ganeys or the HCAHPS, but it's not fair. A lot of times the nurses are just carrying out the orders of the provider. They can't adjust meds. They can't reduce the frequency or increase the frequency. That's up to the providers. And a lot of times what ends up happening is the providers will, in de facto, change the paid med regimen and not discuss it with the nurse. And the nurse will go in, especially with the whiteboards or whatever communication we have with the patients, and they will be on an every 6 or every 8-hour regimen. And the doctor may come in, change it, and they may go from a 6-hour to an 8-hour, or from a 6-hour to a 12-hour, not tell the nurses, and then the nurses will bear the brunt of that.
Mhm.
And then the problem is they get the HCAHP or the Press Ganey review, and they will blame the nurse assigned to that patient when they really legitimately had nothing to do with it. And I remember when I got my reviews, that was some of the things that I had to fight, because you don't have the ability to challenge it. What they say in
Right.
that is what it is. And so if the doctor kind of gets out scot-free on it, and then you get nailed on your Press Ganey reviews, and truly you had nothing to do with it. Now, if you didn't bring the meds in a timely manner that were ordered, et cetera, that's a little different story. But a lot of times it was because the PCP or the attending or whomever changed it and didn't tell anybody. And then you had to go in, which is kind of dirty, because the providers really should go in and tell the patients that they're changing their paid regimen, and have the patients bear their frustration and anger at them instead of the nurses. And a lot of times that doesn't happen.
And then it becomes a patient's perceived way of care they're getting.
Correct. Or wait times.
Oh, geez.
Your outpatient clinics, when they get the Press Ganey surveys, management will typically blame the nurses or other support staff for poor reviews, when really it's
Has
this
nothing to do with
no,
the nurse.
it's the structure of how they do intake, it's the structure on how they do appointments for the patients. And the problem is, anybody that have been assigned, or anybody that logs into that patient's chart and puts any documentation when that Press Ganey survey goes out, all of the people are lumped into that particular survey. And so if the patient had to wait 45 minutes because the doctor's behind, because they like to talk, or they had a little bit longer bathroom break
Or
or
a
something,
problem.
or a problem, the nurse or the support staff or anybody in that treatment team will all be grouped together on that review. And so when your performance and if you work in an environment where you get bonuses, or if you're due for a review where you get a bump in your salary based on these measures, a lot of times you may not qualify for the full measure, because you're getting nailed on what the patients perceive that they're not being given or attended to because of the nurses. And in reality, it has nothing to do with them.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Has that happened to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So the one thing I've noticed in a lot of these reviews is your manager likes to focus on numbers. So they are very straightforward, narrow path when it comes to numbers. So if your patient satisfaction scores are low, just because, like Chris said, a patient wasn't happy with something that totally had nothing to do with you, but you were that nurse at that time, it's going to affect your patient satisfaction score. So they look at these numbers, but they don't look at the whole picture of the number. They're only factoring what data was being collected at that time. So that can severely affect your review, and it's something that's totally out of your control.
That is true. Another thing that I always like about biased management reviews is, could be going through a severe life altering disease or some other thing, and you will do your very best to try to maintain your employment. So cancer, family member has a stroke, you have a stroke, car accident, whatever. And they'll put in there doing at meeting attendance goals. But there's no qualifier in there that, yes, your attendance was maybe a little less than what you wanted it to be. But that's because you had cancer and you were going through chemotherapy, and you had 2 to 3 appointments, sometimes a week, sometimes every other week. You weren't feeling good from the effects, or you got into a car accident and you were off for a month. Yeah, you're doing better, but you couldn't work because you couldn't walk, or et cetera. And they don't put anything in the review
Mhm.
that qualifies why your attendance was poor, which I think is another unfair measure, because you're being grouped into the group of individuals that take time off, that are perceived that they don't work, which they may not work. And you're in that same group when you're a stellar employee, and you have an employee that shows up late, or is calling off all the time, and you're grouped in, even though you never called off prior, or if you did, it was for a really good reason. But now you have this life altering event and you're considered at the same level as that individual that's calling off all the time. And it really sets a bad precedent on that, because if you try to leave that particular unit or you try to get a higher up position, there's no context for what they put in there. And now you again have to defend yourself because it's numbers driven.
Right. And coming from a management position experience that I've had, when you're looking at hiring somebody, you're looking at their, especially if it's internal, you're able to see what their reviews look like, comments from peers, anything that's going into their file. So you're going to be looking at attendance, you're going to be looking at teamwork, you're going to be looking at how they were supporting unit and organizational goals. So, how it's worded in your review can really set you up for failure or set you up for success.
Yep. What are some key words that some managers will use, specifically in healthcare? And I've worked a lot. I know you've worked a lot of different jobs outside of healthcare. So have I. I've never been exposed to the amount of $10 words that you would see, like this thesaurus based word in my life than when I started working in healthcare. And one of those, if you couldn't gather, that we've mentioned on the podcast so far, if you haven't heard the repetition, is
Received.
perceived.
Yes, because I don't know about other places, but in some organizations and the one we came from, you would give a peer review and you don't know who's doing your review. So it can be either a good thing for you or a very bad thing because they just randomly choose and that's who you have to review. So when they are presenting to you what is coming or what has been collected from your fellow peers, it's written as perceived. It is perceived that you aren't doing such and such and such. It's perceived that you have a bad attitude.
Well,
It's
right.
perceived.
And
And
that's
it's like,
coming,
what?
but that's coming from people you don't know who it is, and that's terrible, especially if you don't have a good, in a larger unit. So you could get somebody that you don't work with,
Uh-huh.
and they're basically giving you a bad review based on opinion. It's not based on any performance measure. It's perceived.
We actually have that in one of my positions. I won't specify where, who, or how, but we worked closely with this other set of peers that were not nursing. And the manager, very, very weird, just out of the blue. Of course, we knew the manager, but out of the blue, around review time, she started sending out messages to the nursing staff that is not under her management, wanting to know and give feedback on her staff that's under her management. It was very weird. It's like,
That seems very
why are you
inappropriate.
asking us? Because we're not in direct work with these people. Yeah, we work alongside them, but we're not, or our positions are very different. So what you're wanting is not fair. And it was only to certain employees. It was only about a select few
So like favorited people.
or targeted.
It's interesting. I would say this, like, healthcare has been one of the most toxic work environments I've ever been in.
Oh, it is cutthroat.
And I'm going to say this from the male perspective. And if we have any female listeners out there, I apologize. I don't mean to offend, but I didn't have this when I worked in a male environment. I think working in a female led environment has been one of the most toxic things I have ever been around in my life. And the perceived notion that men are more toxic, yeah, okay, but we don't do this backstabbing. We don't, a
Mm-mm.
lot of us don't manipulate like this. We don't have the clicks. We just want to show up, have a good time, have good conversation, do our jobs, and go home. And it wasn't until I started working in healthcare that I saw just how toxic it is. And most of the time, the most toxic environments I've been around have been female led, female managed work environments in healthcare. I had male bosses and we did not have this issue. So I don't know if it's that, but the in my perception of this, the environments that I've worked in that have been female led have been absolutely terrible, 100%. And My problem is we're already in a highly charged, stressful environment, no matter where you're at. And the last thing that I want to deal with is your emotional bullshit. I don't want to deal with your emotional bullshit. We all have our things. We all have our groups. Just let me come in and do my job. Let's have fun together in an already stressful environment and let's go home. And then grade me on how well I do, not on your feelings, not on your
Yeah.
perceptions. I just want to be graded on my numbers and how good I work as a team, not how well you think I work in a team, not how well that I give of myself to my team, or the feelings like I have a feeling that you're not doing this. No, either I do or I don't. There is no feeling.
Well, and the thing is that your management is taking this from one person or a couple people. They're not there to actually see it for themselves. Now, there are some managers that are in a position where they aren't always present, and that's why they have,
Right.
assistants under
But
them.
a lot of them are behind closed doors all the time.
Yeah, they are. And they don't make themselves known.
No.
So anybody that's running to them with problems or perceived information, that's coming back at you on your review.
Yep.
And that's not facts. You can't say, oh, person is really good. They're a good team player. When their work's done, they are helping others out. They work really well, good patient customer service. You can't say these things and then turn around and take a peer perception and say, well, it is perceived that you aren't a team player. It is perceived that you don't care. Now, wait a minute. That's the opportunity of growth, but you just said I am doing all of that.
Yeah.
I don't like that inconsistency.
No, that's another thing that I've noticed is again, and I'm going to take heat for this, and I don't really care because it's the truth. And I've had other men that I've worked with that have noticed this. It's emotional reviews,
Yeah, it is
and
totally emotional.
it's their feelings on how you are as a person and not on what you actually do. And this is something that I've experienced in multiple work environments. Now, the units and places where I've worked where we've had kind of a mixed work group, a male manager or male assistant managers and a female manager, very well balanced, no feelings, just facts. You're doing well. This is what we've noticed. Never have I had one where I had some sort of emotional term put into my reviews. I've never had that ever when I've worked in healthcare. Now, some of the groups that did the peer to peer, there was a lot of emotional conjecture
Mhm.
in that, but from the managers, I've never seen an I feel or I perceive
It
or
is
some it
perceived.
or something like that. That's a personal emotional kind of response. And as a manager, you need to devoid or be neutral with that because you're going to use that and take good employees that give it their all. And that is one of the big reasons why employees have, especially good employees, whether it's in healthcare or anywhere, they'll leave. They'll
Mhm.
leave. And I'm not going to name an organization I work for or anything, but there's a lot of emotional backstabbing. There's a lot of emotional opinions. There's a lot of emotional decisions. And the problem is the employees that are there to do their job are going to get burned out or they're going to get singled out for no reason and they're going to leave. And at some point in time, we'll talk about this when we're able, but I have multiple stories from a few places where I've worked where this has happened and it's very unfortunate. And you end up forcing your good people away, and then all that's left are the ones that are terrible, and they make the work and environment even worse.
Mhm. Agreed.
Another key word that I know that they use a lot is engagement.
Yep.
I really hate that word. I absolutely have a distaste for it. It is one that you need to be engaged. You need to have more engagement. And the problem with that is that
That's meaning you need to be on committees and council
right.
groups.
But a lot of times they don't correct the environment. So why the hell do I want to engage? So
Exactly.
so it's a cause and effect sort of statement. And I hate it because it gives you the feeling like, well, I could do more, but you're not changing the environment. You're not reducing anything. You're not doing the things that I need to thrive. So why do I want to engage in anything that you want me to? And then on top of that, if I don't engage, then you're going to hold it against me.
And then the most favorite thing is how can I, when your manager's sitting there and they get through everything that they want to say about you, how can I help you? What
Mhm.
can I do for you? Are you kidding me?
No, and I think it's like a filler statement, but I feel like it's said with like dead eyes and dead soul, like they have to say something because
Yeah,
it's an
like
HR thing.
we have to sit here and try
Yeah,
and
it's like,
make you feel like we're
yeah,
here and supporting
we're
you.
listening, we hear you, we're engaging with you
Yeah, once a year,
once a year.
maybe twice a year,
And we're
mid-year
well, and the
reviews.
problem with that is as a new grad or a new grad RN or somebody that's switching positions, the problem with that is that you have a decision to make right then and there because
Yep.
that's kind of a gotcha statement and a gotcha question because if you answer truthfully, if you have a and you some for people that don't know if you're a new grad or if you're changing units, you don't have a good baseline on that manager. So you're really playing with fire because you've got a decision of whether if you share what you truly think, is this going to be used as constructive criticism and make your environment better?
Or am I complaining?
Or are you complaining and then it's going to be used against you?
Yeah,
And the problem is,
especially with what you're coming and saying
right,
about
others, their
that
management.
and their management
Now,
style.
out of all the managers I've ever had, I've only had one that truly listened, and it was Matt. And I know you remember Matt. If you said something, hey, Matt, I'm seeing this. Matt actually used it. Another catchphrase is opportunity for growth.
Yep,
Um,
hate that.
But Matt actually did take constructive criticism well. He was truly into making himself better as a manager. And again, I only knew him for a short time because then he moved on. But he did try to correct it within what he was able to do and what he was allowed to do on our unit because he did answer to multiple higher ups. And there were things that he tried to implement that he could not.
Hmm.
And he did try to make the environment better. But then I had a manager where I just flat out had a much of a distaste for her. She was a ladder climber. She didn't care. She was the type that would say that when you would tell her that you had something wrong with your kids, she would have absolutely no sympathy or empathy because she was not wanting to have kids or planning on it. And she was the type that said, "Well, my dog had problems. I need to take the day off." But then if you said your kid was sick and was in the hospital, she wouldn't care. She was that kind of person.
Yep.
I just let her have it because I knew I was leaving within 2 weeks. She was the type that I knew if I would have stayed there that she would have made my life a living hell. But at that point, I already put my 2 weeks in and didn't care. So I told her exactly what I thought of her.
Yeah, Chris brings up a good point. Just choose your battles when you get into these reviews because you want to help make your environment better. But sometimes speaking up is not going to make it better. And I hate to be that person to say don't speak up because I do believe in speaking up and having your voice heard. But you also have to be careful and make sure it's the right time to do it.
Well, even with that being said, even if it's the right time, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do
Well, and watch how you do it.
because even if it's the right time, the right place, and the right situation, if you do it with the wrong individual, all of that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and do not act on emotion when you get your reviews. There may be things in there that you don't agree with, and it's very easy to get offended and want to act on what you're feeling at that moment, and that's not a good thing either.
No, it's never, well, that's a common sense thing. It's never good to act with emotion when you're dealing with family or friends. And if you transplant that and carry it over to your work environment, don't react. Don't react right away.
No.
Let it sink in, let it formulate. We are all taught to be critical thinkers as nurses. Critical think the hell out of it, sleep on it, go home, develop a game plan, and then implement it from there. But do not fly off the handle. And if you're one of those individuals that flies off the handle, you need to doubly hear what I'm saying. I
Mhm.
am one of those that has to step away, go for a walk, because I get very angry and emotional. And I know my limits. If you're that kind of individual, walk away.
Mhm.
Just say thank you. You don't have to sign your review if you don't agree with it, and then just walk away, gather your composure, go back to doing what you're doing, and then sit on it, sleep on it that night, and then come back and approach it from a fresh point of view the next day after your emotions have settled down.
Mhm. Agreed.
Now, I want to take a break away from this because I want to talk about, and we're going to separate, we'll move on. I want to talk about The dude in Florida.
The dude in Florida.
Yeah. The dude in Florida.
What
Like
happened?
a what the Florida moment.
What? Oh boy.
So figure this scenario. You're a healthcare provider and the police bring in this guy because he's potentially got an issue. And you're looking down and he's kind of covered. And again, you're like, okay, and it's a what the Florida moment. I feel like most of Florida is like just a big episode of Jerry Springer.
Yeah. Well, you could say that for a lot of the
I know.
South, but
But like cops and all these other
yeah.
shows, like I don't know, interesting cases and everything came
And
from
don't take
Florida.
us wrong. We love Florida. We love all of you.
Yeah, but
There's some interesting
there's
there's
places
some
that
interesting
Jerry
people
Springer
there.
came from Ohio and he got most of his people from the show from Ohio. So,
True.
we're no different. Anyway, but we're a step above Kentucky and West Virginia. Anyway,
Oh.
and most of our families from there anyway, right? So anyway, Florida. So guy comes in ED, escorted by police, kind of covered up. And the police kind of give a lowdown on why he's there. And he's there because he tried to insert himself into a vacuum cleaner while it was on. Now, it
What?
was not the brush end.
What the Florida?
It was the tube with the suction on it,
Oh my God.
allegedly.
How old was this cat?
I don't want to be specific. It's all over the Florida news. It's going to be on an episode of What the Florida. I know. I love just quoting What the Florida. Because it really kind of encapsulates the other phrase for WTF. But he was caught. I think maybe he was intoxicated. I don't know.
Help.
But he was inserting himself into the suction end of the hose. Now, can you imagine him getting stuck and having to come into the emergency department and you working as a nurse and me as a provider having to look at this and be like, what the, WTF?
What were you thinking?
I mean, seriously.
What? Seriously.
Like I get
I mean, there's plenty out there that would give themselves
no,
whatever.
no. Well, down there, I mean, if he was rich, but I mean, you've got your hand, you've got toys, you've got other things, but why a vacuum cleaner?
Because of the suction problem. Wait. Oh my God.
It's like I had a patient come in and they're like, yeah, my dog really likes peanut butter. And I'm like, really?
Oh God, no. No, they didn't.
Yes. That was at a hospital here in
Oh,
Columbus
come
a long time ago.
on.
I was like, yeah, my dogs really like peanut butter. I'm like, I tried to give him out and I'm like, you mean on like a toy or some sort of like thing? And she's like, yeah,
Oh my.
because she had a particular bacteria
Oh,
and it was not from oral secretions from a human.
oh, disgusting.
Yeah, and it went rampant. And apparently her primary called her and said, you need to get to the hospital. She came into the emergency department with the results, and it was a bacteria specifically found in canine saliva, and it was in an area. She had a certain area swabbed.
Oh my.
And that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, that concludes this episode of the.
Just think of that person you walk by tomorrow. Of
You never-
all the things that could be going on.
You know what? You never know what you're going to hear on this podcast. It's fantastic. Come on now. We got plenty more stories like that. So anyway, we always end the show with this. Listen, you are more than your job. That is evident after your first or second review or a review that's bad. You will see how quickly that they don't care about you. I will say this. You are more than your job. They do not care about you at work. You are your life with your family and your friends. They are what matters. Get home to your family and to your friends. Make those memories matter. Work on your mental health. Make it the forefront of your life while you're working in healthcare in this environment, in this toxic, sick environment where you give your all and nothing is given in return.
Absolutely. And don't forget tomorrow to wear your red. Friday, February 6th. I believe it is Heart Day, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. Oh, and then we got the Super Bowl coming up. Listen, anybody out there, female, listen. This is the worst weekend of the year for spousal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Intoxicated significant others. You do not need to tolerate that. You get yourself to a safe spot. If you need to go if you fake having chest pain just to get to the emergency department, you get there. Those staff are trained to help battered women.
Mm-hmm.
You do not need to put up with it. You get out of that environment. It will only escalate. It never, ever is one time. You get out of that environment, and this weekend is particularly bad. And those people in the hospital are trained to help you. Please get out of your situation. Go get help. start your life over away from the individual that's hurting you.
Agreed.
Anyway.
And go Seahawks.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm rooting for the Seahawks too. I can't stand the Patriots. Tom Brady kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, have great shifts. Get home to your families. Enjoy the pizza, enjoy the beer, wings all this weekend, and the commercials for the Super Bowl. Until next time.
Until the next time.
Bye now.
Healthcare heroes on the grind, underappreciated. Weekend comes, but the pizza's not celebrated. Managers order, they just can't seem to get it right. We gather round, but we're ready for a bite tonight. No toppings, no love, cold slices on our plate. Pizza party, let the podcast begin. Healthcare warriors, let the laughter spin. Through terrible toppings and grease that we dread, we'll keep this conversation alive instead. Chit chat, laughter, it's our weekly unwind. But this cardboard crust feels like a sinister sign. Heartfelt stories wrapped in cheesy regret. As workers unite over this pizza we fret. A slice of happiness, more like a slice of pain. Pizza party, let the podcast begin. Healthcare warriors, let the laughter spin. Through terrible toppings and grease that we dread, we'll keep this conversation alive instead. So here's to the workers, may your pizza improve. Together we'll rise and we'll make our groove.